The inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. In the 18 years that Newsmakers has helped viewers get ready to cast their votes, I frequently get the comment that voters just don't know how to choose in judicial races. Often sitting judges don't want to come on a show like this because of ethical restrictions about what they can discuss. Although political parties endorse candidates, a candidate's party affiliation does not appear on the ballot. On top of that, courts, especially some very specialized courts like probate court, are mysterious places for lots of people and bear little resemblance to what is portrayed on television dramas. Since 2003, Jim Sissel has served as the probate judge for Hamilton County, but he must retire because Ohio law forbids anyone who is over 70 at the time of the election from running for judge. The result is that two non-incumbents, but both with long records of public service, are running for office this year. Ralph Winkler is the Republican-endorsed candidate, is currently a sitting common pleas judge. Before that, he served for 11 years as a municipal court judge. Judge Winkler served as an assistant prosecutor. Charlie Luken is the Democratic-endorsed candidate. Mr. Luken was first elected to Cincinnati City Council in 1981 and has served as mayor for 14 years in two different periods. He served one term in Congress. Currently, Mr. Luken is a senior consultant with Calfee, Halter, and Griswold. Welcome to Newsmakers. Charlie, welcome back.
Thank you, Dan.
Let's begin by talking about what probate court is, because I think probably most people don't have any really solid idea of that, and it is broader than probably what most people think, which they probably think it's mostly just about wills and whatever. So let's begin. Let's just talk about what probate court is.
Well, a lot of people think it is about the wills, and it is. That's important. And a lot of other people think it's where you get your marriage license. So those are two things that people know about probate court. But the other things that probate court does, it's guardianships for people that can't take care of themselves any longer. You can now get drug and alcohol treatment in probate court, and we finalize adoptions. So there's a lot of hearings, and it's similar to the court I'm in now in that you make important decisions based upon hearings. So there's still a lot of hearings. The only jury trial that you can have in probate court is a will contest. So if someone's contesting a will, so I won't be doing jury trials anymore like I do a whole bunch of jury trials now. But the probate court is more of a restorative court instead of a punitive court. I currently work in a court where we're putting people in prison, we're taking away their rights, we're taking away their money when they get sued. But the probate court's that safety net for guardianships, adoptions, drug and alcohol treatment. And then the other big docket is a mental health docket. And I've seen a lot of problems with people that are mentally ill, that they're out on the streets, they're homeless. So the probate court is a safety net for the mentally ill as well. So there's hearings, but then there's administrative duties as well.
In fact, that's one of the things I was going to say. When we think of the court, there's only one judge in the probate court, but there's quite a staff, right. And to a large extent, this is an administrative job as well. Is that right?
Dan, I think the administrative duties are primary to this court. There is a staff of 37 people, and as you mentioned, there is one judge, but there are 5 magistrates, and those magistrates assist the judge in the duties and kind of act as a quasi-judge, make recommendations to the judges on decisions, and oftentimes will actually make the decisions or solve the account or whatever it might be. I like to think of probate court as a cradle to the grave court. You can adopt a baby there. Families go there when they have mental health problems with a member. They go there when there's a will that needs to be executed. And sometimes, Dan, the probate court not only protects citizens from one another, they protect them from themselves, like in the case of mental health, or what we call a structured settlement. Let's say you win the lottery for $10 million. Some lawyer comes in and says, I want to give you $1 million for that $10 million settlement. I want to give it to you right now. That goes to probate court. And the probate judge often says, no, this is not in your best interest. This is in the interest of this attorney. So the probate court not only protects you from others, but it protects you very much from yourself sometimes.
Well, you know, one of the things that I think intrigues me in reading your literature and reading your your website, Common Pleas Court has a great variety of things in front of it.
Right.
And there are the jury trials, there's criminal and civil cases. Why would you want to move over? It seems like this wouldn't be as exciting and interesting.
Well, when I first became a lawyer in 1987, I worked for an older lawyer out in Harrison, Ohio, and he said, "Ted, start writing wills." So I started writing wills. And when you write wills, then your clients come back when they pass away. So for 11 years I did probate, and then I was a criminal prosecutor as well during the same time. And then I've been a judge for 15 years, and I've handled 33,000 cases. But what do you see with kids or young men involved with crime? They have mental health issues. The kids that do repeat offenses 6, 7 times, they all come from terrible families. And then the third thing is the drug and alcohol problem. So I'm running to be proactive on mental health, the drug and alcohol problem, and the adoptions, because I want to help kids before they get in trouble with the law. I actually think I can cut the crime rate in Cincinnati by getting kids adopted quicker instead of letting them languish in a bad home. If you find a person with a mental health problem, get them treatment before they get a criminal case number. And then the other thing is the mental health issue. I'd probably say half the cases in the criminal court, they have a mental health problem. If I can get them out of trouble before they get in trouble, that's a safety net before people go off the bridge and into criminal court. So I'm drawn to it by just helping people.
Once you're drawn into that court system, you're in a completely different world.
And I can help people before they get, once you get a felony conviction, it's hard to get a job, it's hard to do anything.
Charlie, what about you? You've had a very different career.
Really?
It hasn't been in the courts.
A lot of things, a lot of different things.
Yes. Why are you interested in this at this point?
You know, Dan, my history, particularly as mayor, is I worked with people solving problems, and I did things like volunteer at homeless shelters and saw people, you know, Tender Mercies and the drop-in center and places like that. And I saw people in need. And if you read the national literature these days, you will see that way too often we have people with mental health issues who are just not getting the right treatment or not marrying the right treatment with the individual, and so they languish on the street or they languish in a mental hospital. We have mental institutions in Hamilton County, and I don't take someone's freedom away to put them in a mental hospital without exploring every other alternative. And the other part of it, quite frankly, is the administrative part. I mean, that is what I've done in my life, running an office without regard to politics. And as I've said, there is no Republican or Democratic way to run the probate court. There's only a right and a wrong way, and nobody, I want to make this point, nobody in probate court who's doing a good job for the people of Hamilton County needs to fear for their job, regardless of their political party.
The two of you, before I get to this, I want to, both of you have brought home this mental health thing, brought it up, and people who watch this show regularly know that I have a particularly personal interest in this. My son runs the felony mental health court for Hamilton County. Right. And in this situation in probate court, is this a situation, it's not so much a person has gotten themselves in trouble and they're now being pulled into probate court by the police. It's more the family says, we don't know what to do with this person, and they turn to probate court for help. Is that what we're talking about with mental health?
Sometimes it is. Other times it is where the police make an arrest, but they decide not to prosecute, and then they turn it over to probate, and then probate is restorative, either by placing them in the hospital or giving them outpatient treatment. They just passed a law this year that definitively says the probate judge can do outpatient treatment. On the mental health issue, my wife's family, there's 6 brothers and sisters. I can't say how many relatives, I have hundreds of relatives, but my family has been touched by mental illness. I don't want to go into details.
Well, I think most families have.
Yeah,
right?
if you're not really a normal family, if there isn't someone that's had some issues, and with all the relatives I had, some kids that have had alcohol and drug problems in my family. And we've actually, my wife and I did foster care in our house where we had foster care children that we weren't planning on adopting. One of the problems with the adoption process is the foster parents fall in love with the child. That's not a problem but they adopt the child, and then you lose the foster parent. But on the mental health issue, I've been touched by it personally and in court.
Okay, I want to move on. Something strange is happening in this race. In judicial races, it's almost always public announcements, TV ads, radio ads are about biography. You know, I've done this, I've done that, I've done. Both of you are running ads against each other. And Charlie, you're running an ad that begins by talking about, if I got this correct, and since it's radio, we're in TV, it doesn't work as well here, but that the taxpayers of Hamilton County paid the Winkler family $400,000 a year.
More. Well, yes, that's right.
Okay.
I say more than.
More than, okay. And why is that even a problem if they're the right people?
Well, first of all, Dan, I was the one who started the campaign on a very positive note. And then, unfortunately, Judge Winkler took the campaign to a new low with the radio ad. And I think the judicial system and the judiciary is not served by that kind of negative campaigning, which has characterized his campaign since the beginning. My ad, which I stand by, says, look, we've got to get people who have owned the courthouse. We have got to open the courthouse to a different kind of thinking. We have got to restore people to the courthouse whose interest is in serving people, not in serving the people and the institutions, not appointing, as Judge Winkler has done, a best friend or a political favorite to these jobs. That's what Hamilton County Courthouse has been for too long. I want to open that process up, and I want to make it far less political, far less partisan.
What about the specific points about hiring that Charlie has just raised, and about the question of so many members of one family being involved in the Hamilton County government?
Well, on the so many members, it's my wife and my brother and I. My dad's retired.
Your dad's
retired? I guess he's including my dad's pension, which he's entitled to. He's 79 years old. He worked for over 30 years. On the negativity thing, though, I have to correct him on that because I've got a screenshot from June of 2013 where he went negative before he even announced that he was running against me for hiring my friend. So if he needs proof of who went negative first, we just go back. I got the screenshot. I can give it to you. But
what about on the substance?
Oh yeah, I'm
hiring.
very proud of the job I've done over the last 15 years. I earn the $121,000 that I'm paid. My brother earns the $121,000 that he's paid, and he has a wife and 2 kids, and my brother hasn't given me any of his salary yet. Now my wife makes $100,000 as a clerk of courts, so I don't know how he gets to his math. It's fuzzy math, as they say, but my wife occasionally does take me out to dinner, buy me some ice cream. So my wife does a great job, and she's loved by the people that work for her. The best thing you do is ask people if I hire people that are am I supposed to hire my enemies? I might hire my friends because I like them and I trust them. He hired his friends when he was in Congress and when he was city council. I don't hear him complaining about the Mallorys or the Democrat dynasties or the Lukens. He put his own dad on the SORTA board for Metro. He got his dad some work at the courthouse too. His dad was doing mental health hearings when he's 88 years old. If you want to talk about cronyism, it's right there next to me.
Charlie, what about that?
Well, let me give you an example. His campaign manager is the human resources director for his wife, who is also a township trustee that employs his daughter and the chairman of the Republican Party, and now is running his campaign. Now, if you need a better example of the way people misuse the court system, I can't think of one. There should never be a case where someone who is the working for his wife as human resources director is also a campaign manager. He went on vacation with his court reporter and her husband, came back and doubled her salary, and then he and his brother refused court reporters into their courtroom if they complained about that. Okay. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
What about that?
I didn't double her salary. She left making $49,000 a year, and 6 months later, after I had trouble with other court reporters. I had a court reporter that lost a transcript on a very important case. It's like when your daughter goes away from college. On the first day you miss her a lot, but after 6 months you really do miss your daughter. After 6 months of having average court reporters, I asked her to come back, and she came back at the minimum salary of $39,000 a year. I don't know how he's saying I doubled her salary. I didn't double her salary at all. I brought her back at the minimum salary allowable by the court.
Well, here's what happens. They sell transcripts. They make $49,000. He comes back, rehires this person. This person is making over $100,000 as a court reporter and a personal political friend of Judge Winkler's. That shouldn't happen. And then there's a newspaper article written in the paper that says he and his brother refuse other court reporters in their courtroom if they object to this behavior. That was an article written by Kimball Perry.
That's not true. Every court reporter is allowed in my courtroom. Maybe my older brother did stick up for me a little too much because of the things that some court reporters said. But the one court reporter was banned because she openly campaigned for a Democratic candidate that was running against my brother. She wasn't allowed in his courtroom since 2003.
And that's the politics of it all.
You know,
fire somebody because they are a Democrat.
This is like the pot calling the kettle black. I don't believe this. One of the best politicians in the history of Cincinnati.
Well, I take that as a compliment.
Well, with Ken Blackwell, you went negative against him. And
but did you, Charlie, did you, over the years, you hired your friends? And
I hired my
people
friends,
you trusted?
but I never hired people based only on their political experience or favoritism or cronyism, nor would I let anybody who was with City Hall work on my political campaign. I mean, that if you transpose what Judge Winkler does to a courtroom with 37 employees and start to think about that kind of political favoritism, Sissel doesn't do that. I'm a fan of Jim Sissel's. I think he's a good probate judge. But if you start to let this kind of political patronage and cronyism sneak into the probate court, I can tell you that morale and experience will not be good.
Here's what I'm going to do, because we haven't even had a chance to talk about the ad going the other way, and I want to make sure that both of you get a chance to raise all the issues. So I'm going to just take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and then we'll finish this off.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. This morning we are talking to the two candidates who are running for Hamilton County probate judge. To my left is Common Pleas Judge, currently Common Pleas Judge Ralph Winkler, and his opponent, his Democratic opponent, Charlie Luken. We were just talking before the break about the ad that Charlie ran about you. Let's go to the ad that you are running about Charlie. And you do several different things here. And again, I wish I had these, but they don't fit on TV. They don't work on TV very well. One of the things that you raise is that because of Charlie's career, he doesn't show a particular interest or commitment to the law. And you talk about being a TV anchor, but you also say he let his law license lapse 8 times.
Nine times.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say there? Is that what you're trying? Am I properly interpreting that?
I'm saying that if he's so interested in being a judge or a lawyer, why did he give his law license up for 14 years and let it lapse 9 times? So I think the public should know that he didn't have his law license for a substantial period of time, and they should also know that he doesn't have any judicial experience whatsoever. And I have 15 years of experience, and I've handled 33,000 cases. I think it's a comparative piece. So I'm just comparing my career to his. I went to law school not to become a lawyer. I went to law school because I wanted to be a judge. I became a judge at age 37. I've worked hard for 15 years, and I've done a good job. And I want to be elected to probate court. So I think the public should know the difference between me and pretty much a career politician. I'm a judge. I'm not a politician.
Charlie?
You know, Dan, this ad is a new low in judicial politics in Hamilton County, and it will be it unfortunately may set new low standards. Excuse me. It may set new low standards that will last a long time. My law license never lapsed, and it is a lie to say that it did. I was on inactive status like people like Mike DeWine, who is now the Attorney General, and many other people who did different things during their career. The ad tries to narrowly define my public service. Doesn't mention that I was a mayor for 13 years. Doesn't mention that I was a trustee in bankruptcy, or that I had a case in the Supreme Court of the United States, or that I've practiced in every federal and local court as a practicing lawyer. Doesn't mention my administrative experience. It tries to get a couple of buzzwords, by the way, with a couple of paid actors sitting in a restaurant or a bar. Again, a new low in judicial politics to minimize my record of public service. I think the public knows me. I think they know what I've done, when I've made a mistake, when I've been right. And I think they understand the body of my work. This is politics. But unfortunately, when I got into it, I didn't expect it to be things that would make a congressman blush. And that's what this is.
Are you a politician and he's not?
I think he's a much bigger politician than I am. I have never done the things in hiring people or this kind of advertising that he has done. And I think that we both are in the business of politics. We're running for office. We're trying to explain to people why we are preferable in the campaign.
He says his law license didn't lapse. What do you say?
It was inactive for 14 years, and every time it came up every 2 years, he stayed inactive 9 times. But
is inactive and lapse?
What's the difference?
It's registered with the Supreme Court of Ohio.
What's the difference?
There's a huge difference.
Look the
words up in the dictionary. Look up the word lapse and look up the word inactive.
What did you do in those 14 years that you didn't practice law? You didn't practice law for 14 years.
I was a news anchor man, and I was a mayor of the city of Cincinnati, and I think all of those experiences contribute to someone's ability to be a probate court judge.
One of the other things this ad raises is that your current status with Calfee is you're essentially a lobbyist, right?
He's a lobbyist.
And that this ad is presenting it as if that's a problem, correct?
I think for a judicial race, it should be pointed out to the public that he currently works as a lobbyist for special interests. That's not judicial. That's lobbying people to make decisions for your client. And lobbyists, do you like the word lobbyist? It has connotations and denotations. I'll let the public decide if that's a good thing for a person to go from being a lobbyist to running for a judge.
Okay,
so does the word lawyer. You know, I mean, we could. But the point of this is, I've lobbied for 2 things in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I brought a casino to Cincinnati, and I fought for lower electric rates, which now benefit about everybody inside the city of Cincinnati and most of the surrounding municipalities. Now, if he wants to talk about what I've done, that's what I've done. Again, his ad does not mention the fact that I spent 13 years as mayor of the city of Cincinnati, that I was a United States congressman, that I have an extensive law practice. It tries to get a couple of buzzwords to get people...
Are you practicing law now?
I'm a consultant with companies. I haven't really lobbied anything for years, but I do consult with companies.
Okay.
He talks about my commercial taking a new low. I don't really think it does, but I did a lot of research when I ran for this race in a Cincinnati magazine article when he was running against Ken Blackwell. I worked on Ken Blackwell's campaign. Gladly, I like Ken Blackwell. He's a great guy. In the article, him and his campaign manager that he currently has, Harry Butke, said we wanted to step on his neck until Election Day because that's what our people told us to do. So for him to complain about a comparative piece like mine as a new low, I think it's a little disingenuous and it's a little hypocritical. Why did you say that I wanted to step on Ken Blackwell's neck until Election Day instead of running the warm, puffy, pretty commercials?
Maybe we should talk about something that happened in the last 25 years. Okay. But beyond that,
less than 30 seconds.
But beyond that, you asked me a question.
Let him respond.
You asked me a question.
Yeah.
I believe that judicial politics ought to be raised to a higher level. And I believe that your ad reduces it, as I said, to something that would make a congressman blush. I don't think that's healthy. I think it's going to set a tone for future races in Hamilton County, and I think that's bad.
First off, I want to thank both of you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Secondly,
Thank you.
I want to compliment you because, as I said at the beginning, it's hard to get judicial candidates to sit down and talk. You did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to be watching on November 4th. Thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Next week, we turn our attention to the Hamilton County Commissioner race. 3 people running. Very interesting. Have a good week. Thank you, Stay.